what challenges do you foresee in this journey to bring that DNA of building authentic SUVs to the electric portfolio with SUVs?
Yeah. So there's a few. First, obviously, the ecosystem is to be built on EV vehicles. It's a very nascent industry right now in India. So we have to work with a ton of partners to kind of bring it all together. Of course, we have an experience of doing that on the UV space, on the ICE UV space, but we've got to start to rebuild that on this side as well, on the EV side. But I think the second thing is around getting the consumer to move over, right? You're right, it's a new category, right? Before they come and select a Mahindra EV, they have to make a choice between coming into an EV to that extent, right, as a category. So there's a few things we are looking at. One, let me step back 3 years or 4 years back, right? And for me, it's easy to remember there's two A's, two B's, and two C's, and I'll talk about all of those. First is, as an automobile category, the cost of buying an EV is higher, used to be higher to that extent. So we need to get to a point of parity, and we're getting pretty close to that at this point in time. Second is just the novelty of the category of an automobile and EV, right? How should I think about the vehicle? And can I take it into water? There's just all these questions, basic questions, which you don't think about when you're on ICE, right? That's the two A's if I were to talk about automobile category. Then the two B's is around the battery, right? It's about battery life. It's about battery resale value and how it drives the resale value of the vehicle, and those are all that. And then, of course, the two C's for me is about charging. And people talk about range anxiety. We think of it as charging anxiety. It's not really the range you're worried about. You're worried about where can I go charge next, and that's the anxiety you get. And charging accessibility, especially in large cities like Mumbai. And so charging for us is anxiety and accessibility. Accessibility is, I'm at home, I need a charger in my complex. It's taking too much time. People are not approving a charger being put out there. So you think about accessibility and you think about the anxiety when you're out, driving out on the highways as well, right? So those are the 6 big ones. Some of this is already solved for. I think the vehicle parity, cost parity is starting to come thanks to some of the GST incentives the government is giving out there. Largely the category insecurity, if I may call that, in terms of going into water and all of this starts to get solved for. And we're coming with innovative models as an industry around the battery, right? You've seen the recent work done by some of the other OEMs around providing battery as a service. I think it's a unique way of looking at the market and targeting the market as well, right? So we have to kind of get the customers to get there. And what we have seen is anytime such a change happens, you don't have to get all your parameters on your side. You get 3 or 4 out of the 5 concerns out there. But if your core value proposition on the vehicle is so compelling, they say, you know what, that's great. It's a born electric. It's giving me such dividend terms in terms of what the vehicle design is. I'm willing to live with 1 or 2 constraints, right? And that's what we saw with the 3-door Thar. And that's what we're hoping that we'll be able to the born electric vehicle as well.
Do you drive an electric vehicle?
Not yet. Not yet. I'm waiting for the BEVs to come out. And then, so we have 1 car, which is a 700 at this point in time. Honestly speaking, we need 2 cars. But I've so far convinced my family to wait till the BEVs come out.
Absolutely. Just dialing back to your point on pricing, cost, of course, for customers. And so traditionally, what have been certain barriers for, the ICE SUV portfolio? And are these sort of migrating also to the similar issues in the EV portfolio that you're seeing in terms of pricing barriers? What are people thinking about when they think about pricing and cost?
Yeah. So on a lighter note, let's go back about 10, 15 years. I remember an ad by one of the OEMs. The entire ad campaign was built around kitna deti hai.
Yes.
Right? If you remember that
Iconic
series of
ad.
ads. Yeah. And it was all about fuel efficiency at that point in time, right? And if you look at the Indian consumer, they've obviously become a lot more sophisticated and they're asking for a lot. But the kitna deti hai mindset is still very much there. It's just not about fuel efficiency yet. It's about a lot more other things. If I'm putting this kind of money in there, it's about kitna deti hai on sophistication, on tech, on safety, on design, on performance. It's all of these elements to the system, right? So when we think about pricing, for us, we are looking at each of these aspects and saying, what of this can I work on and put a value proposition together for which the customer is willing to pay for, right? Some of this is uniformly important and universal. Safety, for example. So if your 3XO launch, if you see, we've had 6 airbags from the base model, right? We're not compromising on safety to that extent. And so you have airbags across all of these. But then as we start to put different variants in there at different price points, we're bringing different aspects to it, right? Like one insight for us was an urban customer wants an authentic automatic vehicle at an accessible price point. So we get a variant which is sub 10 lakhs, which is an automatic SUV, an AT SUV, which is not something which the industry has to that extent. That's an insight, right? And they're willing to pay for that to that extent. And then you have a connected car, which we start to bring in. And that becomes a critical element because a lot of people wanted a connected car experience as well, right? And what are the price point around that overall? So if you think through these, then you get this varianting strategy and the pricing. But again, going back to the same kitna deti hai, but across all of these elements instead of just fuel efficiency.